In 4000 BC, the Mesopotamians built ziggurats, which were pyramids that served as observatories. They originated the idea of dividing a circle into 360 degrees, then further subdividing each degree with 60 parts called minutes, and each minute into 60 parts called seconds. In 4000 BC, the Egyptians developed a calendar using astronomy for practical uses. One of these uses was for the prediction of the Nile flood. They also used astronomy to align their pyramids with the stars. Described as a planetarium full of significant astronomical alignment, Sir Norman Lockyer was the first to identify the Stonehenge's use. On the summer solstice, the sun rose at the end of the main axis. In 1339 to 1281 BC, the Chinese were the most persistent and accurate observers in the world before the Arabs. Evidence showing interest in the stars date back to 14,000 BC. They recorded 900 solar eclipses and 600 lunar eclipses. Thales was born in 624 BC. He was a mathematician and a Greek philosopher. He foretold the eclipse of the sun that took place May 28, 585 BC. He discovered the circuit of the sun between the solstices is not always uniform.
The founder of Pythagoreanism, this was an astronomical system posting that the Earth, Moon, Sun, and planets revolve around an unseen central fire. In 1800 BC, the Babylonians focused on making a calendar, so therefore they needed to study the movement of stars and such things. They also divided the sky into zones. Their main reason of star studying was because of astrology. In 384 to 322 BC, Aristotle proved that the Earth was circular and believed it was in the center of the universe. He also added more spherical shapes to the Exodus model, and he supported that the Earth was indeed a circle. In 310 to 230 BC, Aristarchus was the first to think that the sun was the center of the universe. He also showed that it was possible to use geometry to calculate distances of planets from one and another. In 276 to 195 BC, Eratosthenes used geometry to calculate the size of the Earth.
From 190 to 120 BC, Hipparchus compiled the first star catalog and found a scale to measure the brightness of a star. In 134 BC, he found a bright star. The Mayans flourished in Guatemala 2,000 years ago. Venus was the most important to the Mayans because it signified battle. The Mayans built a very accurate calendar that ended in 2012. The calendar also kept track of the sun and moon and the rising and setting of Venus. Ptolemy lived from 127 to 151 AD. He was one of the last great astronomers of antiquity. The episode model perfected by Ptolemy used combinations of circular motions to reproduce the motions of the planets. The model could predict the positions of the central objects with such accuracy that it was used for nearly 1,500 years. Copernicus lived from 1473 to 1543. He also concluded the sun was in the center of the universe and made the heliocentric model. Brahe was born in 1546 and lived up to 1601. He built an observatory which he made an accurate astronomical observations. He also used metal instead of wood so the instruments wouldn't warp.
In 1564 to 1642, Galileo built a telescope and saw more details in the moon, such as craters and mountains. He also discovered moons around Jupiter. He was put under arrest for his discoveries. In 1571 to 1630, Kepler was the assistant to Brahe, and he developed 3 planetary laws of motion. In 1643 to 1727, Newton created a theory of universal gravitation. This theory shows laws of governing astronomical bodies were the same as laws governing motion on the surface of the Earth. Einstein came up with a theory of relativity, which extended Newton's mechanics in a very large speed, close to the speed of light.
Heisenberg had worked with Niels Bohr to lay out the idea of quantum theory and quantum physics itself.
Edmund Halley experienced and saw and also predicted a comet.
Further the foundations for the quantum theory. He also discovered the uncertainty principle. When Hubble discovered galaxies move farther away from us. This is known as Hubble's law.
In 1922, Niels Bohr came up with the model of an atom and also came up with the quantum theory.
George Lemaitre was the father. It is an intense burst of energy at a single moment in time in expanding sense.
Fred Hoyle was a famous English astronomer that believed comets carried early life forms.
Robert Oppenheimer was most famous for making the atomic bomb.
Penzias and Wilson in 1965 were famous for the discovery of cosmic microwave radiation and also had the strongest evidence for the Big Bang. First two people on the moon.